Let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever looked at people in their 30s and thought, wow, they seem so different from us in our 20s? Or maybe you've already crossed that line and started noticing changes in yourself that you never expected. Because there's a popular saying that goes something like this. When I was 20, I used to think people who turned 30 were already old. Looking back, many of us realize how imaginative that belief was. As we grow older, we begin to understand that age is not just a number. It reflects a gradual transformation in how we think, behave, and prioritize life. It's not only our appearance that changes over time, but also our attitude toward health, relationships, money, friendships, and even simple daily routines. What once felt extremely important in our 20s often becomes less significant after 30, while new priorities quietly take their place. Let's take a closer, more natural look at how life typically shifts before and after 30. Welcome to Mind Matters Expert. So let's start with something we all relate to: social life. In your 20s, evenings often feel like the beginning of adventure. After work or studies, the energy is still high, and plans are always forming. You might find yourself getting ready with friends, choosing the best outfit, applying makeup, and heading out with excitement. Hey, what are we doing tonight? Let's check out that new bar down the street. Nightlife, gatherings, spontaneous plans, and staying out late feel normal, sometimes even necessary. But after turning 30, this rhythm naturally changes. Instead of preparing to go out, you often find yourself thinking the opposite. Removing makeup, changing into comfortable clothes, and settling down with something peaceful becomes more appealing. By 10 p.m., the thought of a good book, a quiet room, and restful sleep starts to feel far better than loud music in crowded places. And the funny truth is, most of your friends are probably thinking the same thing. Now let's talk about something even more interesting: communication. In your younger years, communication often carries excitement and emotion. Texts might sound like, "Hey, sweetheart, can't wait to see you. Come home soon, heart emoji." Everything feels expressive, warm, and full of affection. After 30, communication becomes more practical and direct. Messages might look like milk, bread, cheese. Don't forget. Simple, functional, straight to the point. It's not that love disappears. It just becomes quieter, more grounded in daily life, rather than constant expression through words. And then there's something everyone feels but doesn't always notice right away: the meaning of late night. In your 20s, the word late can mean anything from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. And even then, there is still room for more fun, laughter, and maybe even romance. Sleep feels optional, and energy feels endless. After 30, however, everything shifts. Late night starts feeling like 11 p.m. is too late. In reality, anything after 9 p.m. begins to feel like borrowed time. Comfort, rest, and consistency become more valuable than pushing the limits of the night. Now let's talk about one of the biggest reality checks: metabolism. In your 20s, the body often feels unstoppable. You can eat chocolate, pancakes, cake, ice cream, and even extra toppings without thinking twice. Marshmallows on top. Why not? And somehow, nothing seems to change. But after 30, the magic begins to fade. Even a small piece of chocolate feels noticeable. Weight management becomes more real, and suddenly choosing what you eat matters much more. It often leads to moments like realizing it might be time to buy slightly bigger jeans, or simply being more mindful about food choices. And of course, love and public behavior also evolve. In your younger years, love is expressive, bold, and sometimes even loud. Couples hold hands, hug, and show affection openly without hesitation. Public spaces become little bubbles of romance where nothing else matters. And yes, older people might sometimes watch and think, how can they behave like that? But in your 20s, you don't care at all. Interestingly, when you reach your 30s, perspective shifts again. You become more self-aware and often find yourself looking at younger couples thinking, we never did that, did we? With a slight smile of realization, you understand how time changes everything. Then comes something very personal for many people: opinions and social pressure. In your 20s, external opinions often matter a lot. You may overthink situations. Are they talking about me? Did I say something wrong? Are they laughing at me? There is a constant awareness of how others perceive you. After 30, something powerful changes. You stop caring as much. You begin to understand that most people are busy thinking about their own lives. the mindset becomes, let them talk. It's not my problem. And that emotional shift brings a sense of freedom that wasn't there before. Now let's talk about something deeper, your attitude toward aging itself. One of the biggest fears in your 20s is aging. There is often a desire to stay young forever, and the idea of growing older feels uncomfortable or even scary. But as time passes, this fear transforms into understanding. You realize that life does not end at 30. In fact, for many people, it truly begins there, in a more stable, self-aware, and meaningful way. And it doesn't stop at 50 or even 80. Aging is not something to fear. It is something to accept as part of growth. And then there's something that quietly changes without you even noticing. Friendships. In your 20s, friendships are everywhere. You meet people easily, connect quickly, and often have hundreds or even thousands of social media friends. It feels like everyone is part of your circle. But as time passes, that number naturally decreases. By your 30s, you may realize that only 2 or 3 close friends truly matter. And instead of large parties or crowded gatherings, you prefer spending time with those few trusted people. Quiet dinners, coffee conversations, or relaxed Friday evenings. It's not about quantity anymore. It's about quality. Finally, let's talk about travel. Traveling in your 20s is often about adventure. Hostels, shared rooms, new people, loud music, and spontaneous plans define the experience. Comfort is secondary to excitement. But after 30, priorities shift. A good hotel, a soft bed, a quiet room, and reliable comfort become essential. A 4-star hotel suddenly feels like a luxury worth investing in. It's not that travel becomes less enjoyable, it simply becomes more refined and intentional. So when you look at everything together, you realize something important. The transition from your 20s to your 30s is not a loss. It is evolution. You become more aware of your body, more selective with your time, more thoughtful about relationships, and more protective of your peace of mind. What once felt exciting and necessary may no longer matter. And that's completely natural. Growing older doesn't mean life gets worse. It means it becomes clearer. And perhaps the biggest realization of all is this: life doesn't end at 30. It often begins in a more meaningful way. Now let me leave you with a few questions before you go. Which stage do you relate to the most right now? Your 20s mindset or your 30s mindset? What's one habit that completely changed for you as you got older? And if you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self about growing up? Try answering these honestly, because your reflection might surprise you. And if this made you think about your own journey, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who is going through the same phase of life, and subscribe to Mind Matters Expert. Because sometimes, understanding how we change is the first step to understanding who we really are.